All right, hello again, friends. Welcome back to another exciting Age of Sigmar tournament recap. So I was recently at the Everwinter Grand Tournament in Boston, held by the Wicked Dicey crew. That was last weekend. I'm recording this Monday the 13th, so that was a little over a week ago. A little late getting this up because right after being in frozen Boston, I took a little trip down to Jamaica, so I just got back from that actually like 3 hours ago. So I did my grocery run. I'm unpacked. I'm ready to talk about Warhammer again. It was a good tournament. Great turnout. It was 96 people for the Age of Sigmar tournament, and there were. If you've never been to Everwinter, which I had not, it was kind of like a Nova light kind of feel to me. Like it was smaller than Nova, but similar event where there were some vendors, there were some hobby classes. I think they're kind of just trying to get the hobby side kind of up and running. And then there were tournaments for multiple different game systems. So there was an MCP tournament where they had 50 or so people. There were a couple of other systems as well. So it was a good event. It was pretty well run. In addition to playing, I entered something in the separate painting competition, the Wicked Brush. I did not win anything for my entry there, but that's fine. What else to say? I like the Wicked Dicey crew. I've now been to three events of theirs in the last year. So we went to two of their team events, their spring and fall retreat, and now Everwinter. So yeah, good crew. It's not too bad to get up there from Maryland. I took the train up this time, which was a great decision. Did the train up from Maryland on Friday and then back on Monday, so I kind of had a little extra space on either side of the actual tournament. So it was super nice to have Sunday afternoon and evening after the tournament to just hang around and drink beers and play board games with a couple friends that were also staying until Monday. So yeah, that was really nice. I played Slaves to Darkness. Let's make this a little bigger. There we go. So I played a 2-drop Slaves to Darkness with no Varanguard. I played 2 units of Chosen instead. And I really liked this list. I think I'm going to not spoil how well I did at the beginning of this video. And I'll try to keep a little suspense until the end. But I'll just say I did well. I didn't win, but I did well. And I really liked this list. So it's a little bit unusual. There were 9 Slaves players there, and 7 of them had Belakor. And probably all 7 of those had Varanguard in them. So I thought I was going to be a little bit of a hipster and not take Belakor. Also because I don't own the Belakor model. And then there was one other no Belakor list that also had the Gaunt Summoner. So it was kind of the 2 archetypes are kind of either Belakor, maybe in a 1-drop, or if you don't have Belakor, you probably have the Gaunt Summoner. Because he's a 2-cast, which is great, and then he has obviously the put something in the tower and drop it out onto the board thing, which is amazing. I'll talk about him in a second. I'll just go down the list from the top. So I was in the God's Wrath Warband. I basically never remembered to use my subfaction ability, which luckily did not particularly negatively affect my games. My first game, honestly, was probably the one where it would have helped me the most. No, that's a lie, because the first game was on Vice, so it was probably useless there anyway. So yeah, never remember to use that. It was fine. Lord of the Damned, obviously, and then Morbid Conjuration. I really very rarely, if ever, had this matter either. My 4th round, which I'll talk about, I had a chance for Shackles to do something, and then I just, I rolled the 1, so I didn't wound the thing, and I didn't decrease their movement, but that could have helped then. But yeah, really all the stuff at the top here didn't really come into play much. So in the list, it was the Cast Lord on the Karkadrak, which I love, and I will talk about the synergy in a second with everything else in the list. With the Deathmonger, just for yet another strike twice thing. Fight twice in the list, along with the Chosen. If this guy goes in on the charge and he's damage 3, with 5 attacks, maybe 6 if you mark him Corn, that are crit mortals, and then he gets to fight twice. Like, he can actually do pretty well. And he's 10 wounds now. Never really... I had one game where the Karkadrak died, but that was the game where, like, kind of everything died. So, generally he was doing all right. Then, of course, since I have the Gaunt Summoner, I have the 10 Chosen with the Banner of Screaming Flesh, which is the Slaanesh thing, which lets you be pledged to Slaanesh from the start of the game, which gives you 3d6 charge. And then the extra thing for this banner is that it gives you +1 attack on the charge. So very good to be able to drop out of the tower, maybe from 7 inches away if you got the spell off from the Gaunt Summoner, and then 3d6 charge. And then the extra synergy is on the go turn. The Chaos Lord on Karkadrak is also giving the Chosen +2 to charge. So generally what I was doing was these Chosen were in the tower. These Chosen, more often than not, I've been marking Tzeentch turn 1. So they can move up 5 and then do the 2d6 plus 6 inches, essentially teleport up to be outside of 9 of the opponent. And then with the Karkadrak, you have 25 plus inch threat range on 2 units of Chosen that are going to be having 7-inch charges. Or if the Gaunt Summoner gets off the spell, one will have a 5-inch charge and one will have a 7-inch charge with the +2 from the Karkadrak. So a 3d6 at most 7-inch charge from the banner one. You probably aren't going to need your reroll on that. And then you're going to have a 7-inch rerollable on the other unit of Chosen, since you don't need the reroll, most likely, for that one. And it only gets better if with your second cast, the Gaunt Summoner gets the 3d6 charge off on this unit of Chosen as well. So essentially this list, you're almost guaranteeing that turn 1, almost no matter how far away your opponent deploys from you, you're getting 20 Chosen into them on turn 1. And there's very little in the game that can like meaningfully survive 20 Chosen in their face on turn 1. So yeah, it's pretty good. Feels very, very strong. Especially since most armies don't have a lot or any screens. So yeah, a lot of this tournament was the story of 20 Chosen eating the opponent's army on turn 1. And then it was kind of academic from there. So the rest of the list, beyond the Chosen, with the rest of my points, and I do have a little bit of extra points from not having Varanguard and not having Belakor and having these cheaper things instead. I have 5 Chaos Knights and the Chaos Lord on Demonic Mount with Conqueror's Crown. Again, the Conqueror's Crown literally never came up in any of my games, but whatever. That probably means it's better to take the Puppet and mess with somebody's casting instead. That certainly would have been more... that would have been a lot more impactful than the Conqueror's Crown ended up being, so that's a change I can make. And these 2 units, these kind of go on a flank. They can take the flank, and the Chaos Lord has the thing where he can trigger the Knights to fight after he fights, and if he does that, he gives them +1 to wound. So that makes him very strong on a flank against little other things that are like taking the flank. These will probably kill those things. And they're pretty tough, so you know it's not trivial to kill 20 wounds of 3-up save Chaos Knights either. And then the last thing, in the other regiment, I had 5 Fell Riders. I will admit that part of the impetus for this being my list was I had the Chaos Lord sitting in a box unassembled, and I had the Fell Riders in a box unassembled, and I said I'm never going to assemble and paint these if I don't put them in a list for a tournament. So they were kind of mandatory picks, the Fell Riders and the Demonic Mount, and then I kind of saw what I could fit with models I had around that. And the second unit of Chosen I did have to borrow from a friend, which I'll talk about at the end, why I was a little sad about that, but very grateful to Roger for loaning me 10 more Chosen, because they're really good and it worked out well. One other thing I would change about this list, I mean, I don't own, speaking of lists being dictated by what I own, I don't have a Kronspine. I feel like Kronspine would have been better. instead of the Morbid Conjuration. And I should have put the Chosen with the banner in the regiment with the Gaunt Summoner. Because the way I have it right now, I always had to deploy the Gaunt Summoner regiment first so that I could use its ability to put the Chosen up in the tower. Because you can't use an ability if the thing's not on the board, at least the way I read it. So if I put the this unit of Chosen in this regiment, then I could have deployed the regiments in either order. It's not something that really mattered, but might as well give yourself the flexibility at that point if you're doing it this way. I'm gonna shuffle this over here so I can just pull up the lists, my pairings, because I don't want to reveal the final standings yet. Round 1 I played Heather with Cruel Boys. I'm just going to pull up all the lists right now so I don't have to do it again. I don't know why these are taking so long to load. Every time I load a new round, it's like 5 seconds of loading, which is annoying. So yeah, round 1 was against Heather on the Vice with Cruel Boys. Looking at her list, I've said this before in other videos, my assessment of other people's lists doesn't necessarily mean I think that they're bad lists or bad players, but sometimes I look at a list and I'm like, oh, I don't know what this can do against my army, and this was kind of a case of that. So a kind of monster, big lad, heavy Cruel Boys list in Lightfinger with the Crown Spine, with Swamp Kala Shaman with the level 2 staff, 6 Bolt Boys, a Tralgoth, 7 Monster Killers, the Fighty Vulture, a Sledge-Raker Beast with more Gut Rippers, the Merc Knob, and then another Tralgoth, which I was like, cool list, but I don't think it can deal with 20 Chosen. So basically what happened in this game is that I won. Well, I outdropped Heather, so I made Heather go first. She did take the center, seize the center, and put the Gut Rippers and the Monster Killers were the 2 that were taking the center. And so at that point, I said, "All right, all of your infantry is standing in front of me. My Chosen are just going to go eat them." And that's essentially what happened. So the Chosen, I charged both the unit of Chosen in and double fought both units of Chosen, and picked up all of the Monster Killers and all but one of the Gut Rippers turn 1. And honestly, I felt like that was below average for the Gut Rippers. I feel like I could have picked up more of them. And I think maybe on the double fight, let's see. I think on the double fight, the unit that killed the Monster Killers on the first fight also picked up I think one of the Mire Brutes and maybe the Belcha banner. So, it killed the whole center basically. She had the Vulture getting the one. So, sorry, back up. The Vice obviously is the weird one where I should just do this. So, your objectives start out here. So you have to have something in the back to get your first 2 objectives. So she had the Vulture over here and a Trog over here getting these 2. And I had Fellow Riders here, and I had probably the Knights kind of strung out this way, getting this point to start. So yeah, her Vulture was kind of way off here, this Trog was way off here, and then all the stuff in the middle was in the middle, and I mostly cleared all the stuff that was in the middle. One of the other impactful things... So the other impactful thing, turn 1, her Bolt Boys were kind of over here. This is kind of where the big fight was happening. And there were rocks here. They're like big rocks here. So the Bolt Boys were far back, and they weren't in range to shoot anything turn 1. I was a little bit surprised that she didn't teleport them to shoot the Fell Riders turn 1 over on this flank, and then had a second chance to counter shoot in my turn, and shoot the Fell Riders again, and maybe, I don't know, maybe could have picked them up. Don't know if she would have or not, but it's possible. I'll bring all those back. So on my turn 1, when I charged everything in, the Fell Riders had started here, and I kind of moved them. This is like a piece of impassable terrain here. I kind of moved them like over here just to kind of get closer to the middle and be ready to do something. And the Bolt Boys, she teleported from up here to behind this piece of terrain, but such that she didn't really have much vision of the Fell Riders to shoot them, so she didn't counter shoot. And then the tragic thing that happened was I then said, oh, I should just try and make this charge. It was a 9-inch charge, and I had made the 2 chosen charges without needing rerolls, because they may have both been on a 3d6. I may have made the spell to make the one 3d6, and then I think marked it corn, and then the other one is on a 3d6 anyway. So I had the 9-inch charge onto the Bolt Boys, and I failed it the first time, and then I re-rolled it into like the hard 12. So the Fell Riders just went straight into the Bolt Boys, and then, you know, I did like 2 wounds to the Bolt Boys, right? Like I didn't kill them, but then they were just there stuck the entire game, and never got to shoot. Like the Bolt Boys didn't shoot the entire game, so that was bad. It ended up being a 14-point win for me, because Heather did a good job after it was kind of a disaster for her in the center. She did a good job of still getting tactics and things with like the pieces she had left on the board, like the Fast Vulture and the Trog and everything. And then like the Shaman with the teleport was also teleporting around a little bit, being a pain in my butt. So when the objective moved to the center on the Vice, she actually beat me there with the teleported Shaman and like picked up a lot of points there because I didn't have anything within 6 of the center at the time. So like she got the max points for that. So she did play it out well after, having kind of the big fight in the center where the Chosen just murdered everything that were in the middle. So props to her for that. I love it when people who are down early still play it out and play out a good game and keep it kind of close. So that was round 1. Round 2, I need to pull out my notes at this point because I don't remember everything. Of course, I didn't write down what the rounds were. Whatever. Round 2 was against Derek with Tzeentch. This was a fairly standard Tzeentch list, I think, with Kairos and the Lord of Change, some horrors of both varieties, 6 Skyfires, Screamers, Changeling, Castbon. So this bit maybe is not super normal, but everything else I feel like is pretty standard. I had not played Tzeentch, so I really had no idea how this was going to go. And I was very worried about a Hail Mary play to get the Gaunt Summoner turn 1 before the Chosen could come out, which is what that's exactly what he tried. He had practiced against one of his friends that plays slaves and was like, I gotta try and get the Gaunt Summoner. So he did the Changeling like redeploy thing at the start of the game, 3 inches behind my Gaunt Summoner. And then unfortunately for him, fortunately for me, he failed. I think he failed like most of his spells that turn. He failed all the spells that could have hurt the Gaunt Summoner essentially, and then charged in the Changeling and maybe did like 1 or 2 wounds to the Gaunt Summoner. So his gambit to just like spike the Gaunt Summoner turn 1 failed, and he had kind of moved up a little bit. He had the horrors screening the 2 big birds. So he didn't really do much to me turn 1. And then I threw in, so there was like a house here. There's like some pinks with the Lord of Change. Actually, this was the blues. And then there was like pinks here with the Skyfires. And maybe Kairos was like here. Anyway, and I had stuff, blob, chosen, blah, blah, blah. So essentially, like, I tried to get one chosen over here and failed the charges. The other chosen got into here and pretty much just wiped the blue horrors. And then with the double fight, I left the Lord of Change on 1 wound, which made me sad. But it ended up being fine. Because after that point, he had lost the Changeling down here trying to kill the Gaunt Summoner. I had already wiped the blues. I forget if the I forget what happened with the Skyfires and stuff down here, but essentially he didn't have the damage after that to kill the Chosen. He had to teleport the Lord of Change way back into the corner on 1 wound, otherwise it was gonna die. And I think let me just see what the tactics were. So he took Waver. He took Do Not Waver turn 1, and I think I remember being a little confused as to why, because he ended up failing that and got 4 points, and then I did Waver and got 8. Right, turn 2 he did Slay the Chosen with the banner, which he also failed. I don't remember exactly like what tried to fight it. I think shooting. He did shooting. He shot the Zangor or the Skyfires into it. He shot some other stuff. He like maybe did a little magic, but long story short, he didn't kill the Chosen. And then I think he may have even charged in the Skyfires to try and finish them off and didn't. So at that point, I did slay the Entourage right back and killed the Skyfires for 8. So I'm up 16-6 at that point. He did Ordain Charge, which he failed for 1. And at that point, I've killed most of his army. He's got like a very hurt Lord of Change on 1 wound, and he's got Kairos, but like neither of them can really fight anything in my army or do enough to like take tactics at that point. So I did take land turn 4. I got 6 points. I don't remember why, and then I got 10 on the last turn. So again, this is going to be a very familiar story by the end of this. A tale of Chosen just eating enough of somebody's army on like turn 1, turn 2 that they didn't have enough left. Because you have to remember, I also, I have like Fell Riders on the flank. I've got Knights on the other flank, like running around doing tactics and all of that good jazz. So turned out that the chickens did not have the damage to kill a bunch of Chosen. Game 3 was against Thomas with Stormcast. This was a scary list, but I had played I played a practice game against Jake DiBattista with a very similar list. I think he had 2x6 Annihilators and no Vanguard Raptors, but otherwise like fairly similar list. So I kind of knew what it did. I had won the practice game off the back largely of Jake hadn't played against the New Slaves book and did not know I could essentially get to his back line turn 1 with 20 Chosen. So I was hoping, Thomas would also make that mistake. So he had Gavriel, the Annihilators, and Gardas. Gardas and Gavriel are like buffing the charge and the attacks of the Annihilators to go in and blow something up. 6 Prosecutors, 3 Prosecutors, the 6 Long Strikes, a Vexilor, the Storm Coven, and Vigilers. Very solid list. Very good list. What happened here? He gave me... I lost the roll-off, which hurt, and he gave me turn 1. I think he gave it to me. It might have been that I took it, honestly. I may have actually just taken turn 1 to make sure he didn't kill the Gaunt Summoner. I don't fully remember. However it happened, I got turn 1. He countercasted the Kronspine and got it off, which was very annoying. And I did something very stupid, which was I charged in my my Lord on Demonic Mount into the Kronspine, just thinking I would like tie it up. And the Kronspine just blew him up. He rolled well enough that the Kronspine just ate my Lord immediately, which I was sad. And the stupid thing was, this was sort of how my practice game went too. He had the Vigilors here. He had the big Portageon thing. He had a character. He had like the Storm Coven here. Then he had like the small Prosecutors, the big Prosecutors back here. So he had, I think he redeployed these Vigilors up a little bit. There was like terrain here, and was kind of like, oh, good, you know, these are 6 inches ahead of, you know, they're 6.1 inches further up than here. So even if you go in and double fight, you know, because you pile 3 and then you have 3 inch reach, you can't, you know, I can't get back to here. And I was like, I can just go around in my head, like, right? Like I'm like, I can just go around. Like I have 3d6 charge. I'm very fast. I'm gonna have 3d6 plus 2 charge, right? Like I'm like, even if I drop, you know, if I drop 7 away here, I'm gonna, if I roll a big charge, like it's easy for me to get around. And even if I don't make the charge to get around to get to begin with, like I can end up like something like this, and then pile. And I'm like, I was like, I'm totally gonna get in. I'm like, I'm sorry, but these chosen are fast. It's gonna happen. I'm sorry. So that's kind of what happened. I dropped the tower chosen out and went this way. I rolled like a 13 on the charge, so like I kind of got to what I drew. I kind of got to like here on the first fight and was like, yeah, I'm gonna pile that way and I'm gonna get in. So feeding my lord to the crown spine was even stupider because I forgot that if I got to the Storm Coven and I killed them, the crown spine would just disappear. I'm still not used to manifestations dying when the wizards that casted them die, which is dumb. It's been that way for a while. I should know this. So I just threw my lord away literally for nothing because I did get to, I killed the Vigilors, I got back here, and I killed the Storm Coven and the Night Vexillor. And then my other chosen, I think I also just threw in here. So I think what I did was I fought with this chosen unit first to kill the Vigilors, just so these guys were free to pile in wherever they wanted. Just kind of go straight back and not have the Vigilors be in the way. With their first fight, since they charged, even if they weren't quite in combat yet, they could charge, you know, they could pile in 3 and then pile in 3 again. So really, you know, they kind of had 9-inch reach there. So at that point, I'm like, cool, I killed your Vigilors, your Storm Coven, your Vexillor. I'm feeling okay, and I'm like, I know that there's a big hit back coming. I should have just left that there. So like, there's the tower, there's some, it was like down here. There's some other terrain down here. Let's see, green things will be the good guys. So I had like chosen, basically. There's a C. Chosen. And then this red is the bad guys. So he was like, all right. He was like, that's fine. I'm just gonna, like, I'm gonna lift all 20 of your chosen in my turn. And I was like, I hope not. It's possible. I was like, I don't think so. Because, all right. So one thing about Stormcast personally, I'm very down on prosecutors, I think. I think I said this before maybe in a video, but like they have their place. They really just don't feel like a hammer to me. Like 6 prosecutors doesn't scare me that much. Or even 9 prosecutors going in doesn't scare me that much. Like they're Ren 1, 2 damage on the charge. They're not bad, but they're not chosen, right? They're not chosen. They're not Varanguard. They're not like they're not Annihilators with Grand Hammers. They're not a real hammer. So his turn, he's like, all right, I'm going to pick up all 20 of your chosen. So he had the little unit of prosecutors, he had the big unit of prosecutors, and then he had the 6 Grand Hammers come down with like the 2 supporting heroes to buff them up and all that jazz. So they got the once per game +1 attack buff. They got the 3d6 pick the 2 highest charge, which I did not realize that's how it worked before this. I thought it was just a straight 3d6 charge, which is a lot scarier. So he had like a 9 to here, and I think a 10 to here, and then I redeployed these guys away a little bit, so he needed a 10 with the Annihilators. And he did Do Not Waver this turn, was the other thing. So I probably did Do Not Waver my first turn. No, I did flanks first turn, because I set up to do flanks, might as well do flanks. So I think I had the Knights strung out over here, and the Demonic Lord that went in and died. And the Fell Riders were over here. Yes, the Fell Riders were over there. Whoop. Love these beautiful diagrams. And I should say his long strikes were like back here. So he was like, I'm killing all of this turn, right? So the long strikes shot. I think they did below average. Like the long strikes didn't do that much. The javelins did a little bit, but not all that much. And then, of course, the absolute tragedy for him, the first of the absolute tragedies, is he failed the charge with the Annihilators. So the 6 Annihilators did not get in. Now at this point, he needs to not waver, right? So the prosecutors both went in, and he's still hoping to lift the 10. I totally hesitated on the word lift because I have one or multiple friends who hate the term lift to like lift a unit. So as soon as it was out of my mouth, I was like, I said it. So he's still hoping to kill this unit of Chosen, maybe get the double and kill everything. So let's see. Right. So yes, he went in with these 2, and I think he also, I don't know if he went in with a hero or if I didn't kill the Vexillor the previous turn, I maybe didn't kill the Knight Vexillor the previous turn, or maybe one of these heroes went in. I think there was a hero in the mix here. It doesn't matter. The moral of the story is the 6 prosecutors did not kill the Chosen. I think they left like 4 alive. And then I got to strike, so I fought with those Chosen, and I killed the 3 prosecutors. So I put everything into 3 prosecutors. I think I overkilled them a little bit, but like that made him fail do not waver. That also meant they couldn't kill the Chosen. So at that point, he took 0 points that turn. He did not get any of the objectives because he was just like, I'm just going to wipe the core of your army, and then it's going to be an easy game from there. And then that plan didn't work. So he did end up taking the double after that. And I believe what happened was this unit of Chosen hadn't double fought yet. So he did, he got in with the Annihilators that turn, but he still didn't clear all of this. So like he went into the Chosen, they double fought, and I think again no. Sorry. He would hate me if I forgot this detail about the fight up here. this all right. So this was a game where he absolutely probably could have killed all of that, and then like the dice saved me. I'm sorry, Thomas, for forgetting like a couple of the most important things. So in addition to he failed this 10-inch charge, rerollable on 3d6, pick the 2 highest, which is not out of this world. It's not impossible. Like that happens. When the prosecutors fought, he wounded 18 times. So that, that's 36 damage. That's plenty to pick up the Chosen, depending on how the saves go. And I was on why was I on a 5-up save? I think maybe those prosecutors had +1 Ren to anti-infantry on them or something, and maybe I was out of command points. I don't remember. I think the redeploy was my last command point, and I figured that was more impactful. So I was on 5-up saves for whatever reason, and I made... No, I'm sorry. No. I was on 3-up saves. I'm completely lying. All right, I'm messing this up. All right, I was on 3-up saves. He was Ren 1. I had this backwards in my head. I was thinking of a time something happened to me. So I did all at defense. So I was back to 3-up saves. He did 18 wounds. I made 16 of the 18 3-up saves. So I think on average, if I had made 12, it would have been enough to kill the rest of the Chosen that were there. Like if I made, basically, I rolled a little bit of I rolled above average. So the Chosen did not die. I think maybe 1 or 2 would have been left if I had rolled average. But he would have killed. He would have done 8 more wounds if I had rolled average. So that would have been 2 more Chosen, maybe 3 more if 1 was wounded. So like, I would have had 1 or 2 Chosen left, and that probably doesn't pick up the 3 prosecutors, and then they maybe kill the Chosen back. So I had a great roll on my saves to save the Chosen and to make him fail the tactic turn 1. And yeah, as I was saying, he took the double. He got 5 points that turn, and he was down more than 6, so he could do a tactic that turn, even though he was taking the double because of the new thing. So he got 5 points that turn. I didn't write down what the tactic was. That's okay. Whatever it was, I think he got the tactic and got 5 points. But again, so the Annihilators went in. They like didn't quite wipe the 10 chosen. I probably had 4 left or something. I don't remember exactly how many. And at that point, I was like double fighting. So like I killed a couple of the Annihilators back. It helped a lot that they didn't have the... Oh, that's the other thing. So yeah, so because they failed the charge on the turn when they had the +1 attack buff, I also had this was important. I also had the Karkadrak like sitting here or something. That's what it was. So I had the Karkadrak sitting there. I had kind of redeployed the Chosen back because those Chosen were bodyguarding the Karkadrak. So I redeployed so he couldn't get into the Chosen without triggering the -1 attack on the Karkadrak. So that's how those Chosen ended up surviving the 6 Annihilators, because they were only on 2 attacks each instead of 3. So I lived. I like double fought the Kark and the Chosen and killed that. And so at that point, he had kind of committed everything to killing the Chosen and did not kill the Chosen. So in my turn, I did Do Not Waver. I also got the Fell Riders up into the Long Strikes to charge them and stop them from doing any more shooting for the rest of the game. So Fell Riders kind of... and I can't call them MVPs because the Chosen are clearly the MVPs like every game, but I quite like the Fell Riders this tournament, and this is just another example why. Like, they were just getting their 12-inch move. Like, they're so fast, and they're not very killy, but if you just get into a unit that's a shooting unit that can't shoot in combat, you don't have to kill them. You just have to be annoying. So that point, after turn 2, I'm up 20-5. Then I did take the double. I got the double and I took it thinking I just finished clearing the stuff here, which I did, and I got 6. He did take their land. So he teleported. I think he teleported. No, I think he used the CP to get the Storm Coven back, like in my backline, to do take their land for 6. And then his turn, he got 2 points. I got 10. He got 2 points again. I got 10 because he was just kind of out of. We talked it out at that point. Like, he was kind of out of army. I think he would have kept that with this whatever point he was on with the Storm Coven. Like, I wasn't going to quite get back there, so we kind of talked out the rest of that. So that was a 30-point win for me. I think I forgot to say round 2 against Zinch was also a 30-point win. So after round 3, I was sitting in first. So at the end of day 1, I was in first place, and I was like, all right, oh shit, here's where the pain comes. Like, Gavin's at this tournament, Tom Guan's at this tournament, like a ton of really good people are at this tournament. I was like, all right, I'm gonna have to play one of those like big names day 2, and the pain is coming. And what I know this happens, and I am trying to get better about it. I definitely get into my head a little bit when I play somebody who's like a big name and is like well known for like winning tournaments and stuff. And I feel like I tend to play a worse game against those people. And I should just not worry about it, obviously, and just play my normal game and assume that I can win just like I'm playing anybody else. But it definitely still gets into my head a little bit. So I did indeed round 4 on day 2. I matched into Gavin Greigar, one of the best Warhammer players in the world, and I was like, well, shit. Here we go, boys. I also have never played against Beasts of Chaos in 4th edition because I was like, they're going away. I don't have to read this crap. I'm just going to hope that nobody's playing them because they're going away and I don't have to worry about it. And I kind of vaguely knew they were pretty good. And I'd read once, I read what the spells did once. I was kind of vaguely aware that Bestigors were good. So not making excuses for myself, but because if you're a good player and you're playing at tournaments, you should have at least a basic grasp of what every army does in case you run into that army. And this is one where I just didn't. And that's largely my fault. for not getting enough practice games and not just reading and knowing what things do. And Gavin is not the person to do that against. Turns out. So Gavin's list was 2 Bray Shamans, 20, 20, 20 Bestigors, 10 Bestigors, 10 Gores, 10 Ungors, 10 Ungors. So just all the Bestigors you can shake a stick at. I was very sad looking back on this game, because I absolutely could have given Gavin a better game than I did. And I kind of just was like, I'm gonna like YOLO send it, and I think it'll work out. It did not work out. So I haven't uploaded any of my pictures for this. I came into this recording very unprepared, because I do have a picture of the important turns on a couple of the games, but I don't know. I just felt like drawing diagrams today. And let's make sure I'm not behind my face, which I maybe did on a previous game. So essentially, he gave me... Did he give me turn 1? Yes, because he got the double. So he gave me turn 1. I was sad to lose that. I think I was saying before, like, screens. You need screens against the Chosen. And I was like, anybody with screens, it's going to be a much harder game. And of course, Gavin had screens, and it was a harder game. Shocking. So in this game, there was kind of, the setup was there's kind of a piece of terrain in the middle here. There was the herdstone here, and then I'll continue with red for enemy units. Let's go. Is this big enough? No, it's not. Try to be a little neater. So it was the 2 Shamans. It was 20 Bestigors, 20 Bestigors, and then the Ungors, the Gores, and then whatever. This was kind of diagonal, but can I rotate this? I don't think so. I don't think we have the technology in Paint. Nope, that zooms. All right, anyway, these Bestigors, let's just kill that. Let's just draw that. Bestigors were kind of diagonal there. So, damn you, Gavin. How dare you screen my Chosen. I think that, I think this piece of terrain was kind of further back here. So he was kind of well set up protecting the herdstone. And of course, Jacob, I was talking to Jacob before the game and was like, what do I do? And maybe this was even the night before, but he was like, you just kill the herdstone early so he doesn't have Ren. And I'm like, well, okay, but he has built a castle around the herdstone. So how do I do that? Again, how dare he? So basically, also, hold on. There was also like a kind of chunky piece of terrain there. I just want these two so I can explain what I should have done. So one thing I didn't appreciate about the army was how impactful, and like Gavin explained what they did. All right. Let me back up. Even if you read what an army does, you almost have to experience it at least once to really have a feel, I think, for what an army does and like what the possibilities an army brings to the table are as to like what they can do to you. So the big things here is like I didn't appreciate how mobile the army was, because I didn't realize they could get run and charge. So like the Bestigors can get run and charge and just run 12 and then go in, and like they're very mobile. And I also didn't have a feel for just how impactful the endless spells were. So in my turn 1, he countercasted and got off the bull spell, like here. It's probably a little further back. It's probably like here. And that the bull kind of single-handedly lost me the game, which I did not appreciate going in. That was the thing that it was going to do to me. So in my turn, I dropped out the Slanesh Chosen, like here-ish. He had also redeployed the Ungors up a little bit, if I remember right. And I was so close to like playing this well, and I just didn't. I should also say this was limited resources, which is a map that I was very much like, I hope I play. It's always better to play some less experienced player on limited resources who doesn't necessarily know how to play it out very well with the objectives turning off and things. And I say that having played this game extremely poorly. So I was that person for Gavin. So I dropped out the banner chosen out of the tower here. And then, so my thinking was I was going to charge my knights into like the screen up here and have them be my own screen against this unit of Bestigors, right? And then send this unit of chosen over here and like kill kill these screens. And then I had my other chosen unit sitting here. So I was kind of like, chosen will go over here. This unit of Bestigors, I don't think just like picks them up. But then I didn't appreciate, and honestly, even without the run and charge, these Bestigors, like it was not that impossible of a charge for them to get in turn one. But I was not thinking that he was going to be able to fully bring both of these two units to bear onto this unit of chosen in his turn one. I was debating between going here and wiping the Ungors and killing this manifestation, or going over here and wiping the Ungor screen and the unit of 10 Bestigors. So I did this, and it turned out the answer, turned out the answer was absolutely to go over here. He was like, yeah, you should have gone and killed this bull thing. Because the thing the bull does, it does like the ogre charge, it does mortals on the charge, and then if it does any mortals, you strike last. Which just screws chosen, right? Because one unit of Bestigors was not going to pick up the one unit of chosen. And then if I got to go, even if you had two units in, if I got to go with one of my units of chosen, I can at least do some damage to the second unit of Bestigors, decrease the number of attacks that are coming at me. Then maybe I have a chance where I've lived and I can fight again. And then at that point, maybe the rest of my army can go help clean things up. So instead, the bull went in, also just doing like 5 mortals on the charge with the bull kills a chosen, or 2, he kills 1 or 2 chosen with the bull on the charge, which is bad. So let me actually do this. Where's my select tool? I'm out of paint diagram practice. What is this? What is happening? I have no idea what I just did. What is going on? Wow. Okay. Interesting. Cool story. Paint has clearly gotten updated since I used it. So, all right. So I killed that stuff. Chosen. This is my silly way of erasing things. Well, there we go. All right. So at the end of my turn 1, I believe the Ungors here were dead too. Man, how long am I taking? I'm taking way too long with this recap. I wanted this to be under an hour. Gotta hurry up. All right. So those Ungors, I'm pretty sure were dead. I killed all but like 3 of these Gors, 4 of these Gors. Maybe I killed 3. Whatever. There were Gors left. And then I had the Chosen were like over here. I thought safe from this unit of Bestigors. So turned out they were not safe. I think maybe he did he do not waver? Yeah, I did flanks. Oh, he did attack on 2 fronts because he took 2 things back. Because he brought in, was it his turn 1? I think it was his turn 1. He brought back the other 20 Bestigors down here to take this back from me. So yeah, he went in with these Bestigors, these, and then he auto ran these 6, I think, to have like, was it a 3-inch charge? I think it was a 3-inch charge. So he was probably like 15 or 16 inches away from me, which I thought was like pretty safe because I was thinking 6-inch, he's got a 9 or 10-inch charge. Like, there's still a decent chance he makes that charge, right? But it's not like guaranteed. I did not think he was gonna have 2 3-inch charges into the Chosen because I didn't know that he had run a charge. Maybe he mentioned it amongst the 27 other things beasts can do that I needed to know about, and I forgot. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I think I didn't. At least when it was happening, I did not remember that he could give run and charge and that he could give +1 to wound to something. So he had those buffs. So these guys go in and they eat this unit of Chosen. And at that point, I think if I had gotten the turn, it would have been a game still. But as it was, he got the double. So then all three Bestigor units and the bull just Pac-Man'd and ate the Chosen and the Karkadrak, and then I had no army left, right? It was a very cut and dry game. He just got multiple units of Bestigors into the Chosen one at a time and got the double turn to do it to both units, and I was like, well, fuck. Terrible. I'm sorry, Gavin, that I did not give you a better game. I'm very sad about it. But it was a learning experience. If I have to face beasts again, I have a much better idea now of what they do. I think, well, obviously, I mean, the big answer is I should have gone in. Oh, be red. All right, finalize that. There we go. I should have gone in here and cleared the bull because I could have tagged it in combat. I could have killed the bull, and even if I didn't, it can't strike last me if it didn't charge. So like everything would have been fine. Everything would have been fine if I went in there. He also, I mean, he would have gotten both these guys in. But I also maybe I like at that point, I don't remember if I had command points left, but at that point maybe I get to countercharge this unit. There's, I have the Karkadrak here, which had not used his +2. Well, that's only my turn. Anyway, there were just options if I had gone here. Or I think what I really should have done is, since I had the knights screening out this flank, I really think that instead of going in at all, I maybe should have just jammed up the center here with like both units of Chosen. So like I maybe should have just had both units of Chosen with like the Karkadrak, and I think I had Bodyguard on the Karkadrak again. So like I could have set up here such that like he didn't have a path to like isolate one unit of Chosen and wipe it. And then we're playing like a much cagier game, right? Because if 10 Chosen get to charge 20 Bestigors, they probably pick that Bestigor unit up themselves, right? So at this point, like, what's he doing? How is this Bestigor unit just clearing this knight screen? Is he going into this choke point into both units? Is he just at that point playing cagier and like going out to get objectives and like out counting me on the objectives? It just, it would have actually been a game instead of me losing a Chosen unit and then getting doubled and losing the rest of my army, right? So, and I told Gavin, I was like, this was very much a learning game for me. In terms of how to play it out, I could have played it way better, but like now that I've played it once, I have a much better sense of what the Beastman, the Beast of Chaos can do in my head. I know what a freaking killer that thing is. I mean, I should have known Strike Last is awful for me. He got the trumpet up over here, and like my knights kept doing like 1 wound to the damn trumpet, which is really annoying. So yeah, there were a lot of things I could have done better, and you can't make mistakes against the best player in the world because they'll take your mistake and they'll shove it down your throat and they'll kill you. You'll be dead and you'll have lost. So it was a 22-point win for Gavin, And then round 5, I played against the Pink Pony Club. I did not realize that at the time. So I played against Sylvaneth, and this was like Exhibit A of why you need screens against the Chosen. So this was Alariel, Spite Rider, three Spite Rider. Oh my god, can't talk. 3 Lancers, Belthanos with 5 Tree Revenants, the Branch Witch, a Warsong Revenant, and then the Black Talons. So like very low model count army, absolutely 0 screens. And I was like, oh buddy, here we go. I'm just going to eat all those trees with a bunch of Chosen. And that is exactly what happened. Because, so he set up with like Alariel here and the Lancers. And then over here he had the Black Talons. He had the Branch Witch. He had the Revenant. And then he had like Belthanos. And the Tree Revs were like over here. And at the beginning of the game, he was like, I'm about to get run over. He was like, I'm about to get eaten, aren't I? And I was like, I think so. And he was, this was Derek, right? Sean, sorry. No, this was Sean. Derek was Zinch. Sean was like the nicest dude ever. He was like the cheeriest person I've ever met who was like, I'm about to get tabled. And he was just like, it's cool. It's the end of the weekend. I'm having a good time playing Warhammer and this is lovely. And I was just like, you are a fantastic human being, Sean. Thank you. So yeah, so I had my basic, my usual setup for Chosen, the Gaunt Summoner, the Karkadrak, and then stuff to take the flanks. So I think this was the Fellow Riders over here, and then over here was like the Knights, which don't matter at all. So the only thing you need to know about this game is that, let's see, I believe Alariel was like 28 inches as the crow flies from the Gaunt Summoner, and that is not nearly far enough to be safe from the Slaanesh Chosen that come out. And in fact, this unit, there was a chance I could have gotten this unit into Alariel as well. I was debating whether to mark this unit Zinch. Oh, let me make this bigger again. I was debating whether to mark this unit Zinch and hop skip it this way to try and get Alariel and drop the other unit outside of 7 here, or to send these guys this way and then drop the Chosen out here. So I ended up getting off the spell for the 18-inch dropout range outside of 7. So this little dude just ran and went 9 inches this way and then dropped 10 Chosen, 7 inches from Alariel's face. And the other unit, I don't remember. I think I did mark them Zinch for the extra movement. So I think I marked them Zinch and, got 9 inches away from everybody up here. So they were like here. Chosen. And Mr. Karkadrak ended up here to give +2 to charge to both. So in they both went. I got both charges off. That is the ugliest arrow I've ever seen. So turn 1, the Chosen go in. They're at -1 attack due to, the Slaanesh Chosen. So they're -1 attack due to the Bodyguard with the Spite Riders. And I was kind of, Sean, again, being a very nice guy, I was hemming and hawing over to like whether I should go into the Spite Riders, keep Alariel out, and like kill them to get rid of the -1 attack thing, and then pile into Alariel. And Sean was like, dude, like Alariel's 3 inches away. I'm just gonna countercharge and like be it anyway. And I was like, oh, that's a good point. That was stupid for me to not see it. And he was like, well, if you want to go into Alariel, just go into Alariel. Like, I'd already moved. I had plenty of move. I already moved my model. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, it was my stupid thought. Like, I should just keep it like this. And you're like, no, just go into Alariel. So I was like, all right, fine. If you want to give it to me and I'll go into Alariel first. Great. I was like hemming and hawing over what was better, and I'm like, I think that is better. So like, sure. Thank you, Sean, for pointing out my stupidity. And then the other Chosen unit also made their charge. So I went just kind of into the Black Talons and everything else, and fought first into Alariel, and I one-shot Alariel with my 30 Chosen attacks close to the wound. I think I overkilled her just barely. And then on the double fight, also killed the Lancers. Over here, I killed Neve and the Black Talons on the first fight, and then I killed the Branch Witch and the Warsong Revenant on the second fight. So I killed all but 4. I killed 3/4 of his army on turn 1 on the top of 1. And it felt bad. I mean, it felt great for me, but like it felt bad to just be like, you don't have an army anymore. I'm sorry. And of course, you know, with Alariel, he has the out of, well, Alariel can come back, and then maybe she can bring back other things, and it'll be a game. Of course, his turn. Okay, so in addition to this turn going horribly for him, his turn 1 was just the absolute worst luck I've ever seen. So he got the double. He took the turn 1 into 2 double. So the things he failed both 4-ups to bring Alariel back. He did slay the entourage. No, what did he do? He did the order kill a hero thing. His turn 1. So let me just like clear this whole screen. Whatever, it doesn't matter. His turn 1, he did slay a hero. So the Karkadrak was here. The Gaunt Summoner, like I said, was like here at this point. So he goes like here. And he rolled a 5, and he needed like, I don't know, he needed like a 7 or something to get to the Gaunt Summoner. And he was like, I know I'm going to fail it if I re-roll it again, right? So he went sideways into the Karkadrak and was like, I can do the flip thing to get flipped over to the Gaunt Summoner, and I can kill the Gaunt Summoner for the tactic. Of course, he fails the 3-up or whatever for the flip, so he's just stuck fighting the Karkadrak, who I double fight. He fails to kill the Karkadrak, who then does like 12 wounds back to Belthanos and like almost kills Belthanos in 1 turn of double fighting. He had Lorelei from the Black Talons left. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, it looks like a 6. Lorelei was over here next to a place of power. Turn 1, he rolls a 1 trying to do the place of power and does like 3 wounds to Lorelei. Turn 2, he rolls another 1 to do the place of power and does like another 3 wounds to Lorelei, and she dies. So he needed obviously to make it a game, he needed to make one of the 4-ups to bring Alariel back on the double. He needed to make the 3-up to get a tactic with Belthanos, which he failed. He needed to make one of 2 2-ups to have Lorelei not die. So at that point, he was like, you know, good game. this could not have gone worse. Poor Sean. It just in addition to the Chosen just getting into everything and eating it, just on his like, let's see what I can do back, literally every dice roll failed him, which was horrible. So Sean, it was a pleasure to play you. You're a wonderful human being. Hope to play you again sometime. And like, man, I hope the dice go better for you next time you play. So that was another 30-point win for me. So I ended up coming in 5th place, which I was super stoked about. I went 5th place. I got 3 max wins, a 14, and then I lost to like, I don't know, one of the best players in the world, like top 3 Warhammer players in the world, at least the US, right? Like he's at least top 2 in the US, I think, in the rankings. I forget. I was watching Honest Wargamer the other day, and it was like after this he jumped back up to 1st or something in the ITC rankings. So I like, on the one hand, I have no shame that I lost to Gavin, right? Everybody does it. On the other hand, I am disappointed in myself because I could have given him a better game than I did. And instead, I just like, I made a couple bad decisions. I kind of YOLO'd something. I don't know. It was just dumb. I played a little poorly, so I felt bad about that. So, Gavin, I hope we play again sometime, and I give you a better showing than I did this weekend. But yeah, this is the best that I have ever done at like a tournament of this size. I went 3-2 before dropping last year at Nova, which is, you know, was another like 100-ish person tournament. I've won small 25-30 person RTTs, like little one-day things once or twice. I won a small like 16-person GT, but like this is one of the big events on the East Coast, like 96 people. So I tied for 5th against Dylan. Not against, sorry. Dylan and I tied for 5th is what I'm trying to say. We both lost to Gavin. So that was the 2-point win Gavin had round 2. So we were brothers in losing to Gavin and being 5th. I lost to Dylan at Nova last fall. So I talked to Dylan before. And yeah, Jeremy won with Fire Slayers. If you watched the Honest Wargamer video from this last week, you know this already, but Jeremy won with Fire Slayers. Gavin came 2nd, undefeated, with Beasts of Chaos. Carl Ong took 3rd, undefeated, with Maggot Kin of Nurgle. All of these fairly shocking, right? None of these are at the top of the meta, so very cool. And then Noah totally spoiled Dylan and I sharing the Best in Bracket award for 4 wins, because he went 4 wins and a draw, which is better than 4 wins and a loss. So dang it to him. Very sad. And coming back around to what I said near the beginning about my army, so I borrowed my friend Roger's 10 chosen because I only have 10, and I'm sad that I didn't have 10 more of my own chosen, because I think I actually would have had an okay, if I had my own 10 painted chosen and had like a display board, I actually would have had a very good chance, I think, at winning best overall. So just like now knowing that I came in 5th battle points wise, I was just like, damn it, like, there was a path where I could have been best overall potentially if I had, had everything of my own painting, because I didn't even put my army out for like paint judging or whatever, because I have a unit that I didn't paint. And I think if you have things that you didn't paint in your army, I do not think you should be eligible for painting awards. I don't think you should put yourself up just as an honorable thing. It's great, if you paid somebody to paint your army and you have this great painted army, that's awesome. It's always more fun to play against a well-painted army. That's great, but I don't think you should be putting an army that you didn't paint up for any sort of painting awards. It's just my 2 cents. I think it's pretty cut and dry. So I was like, oh damn, like I did what, I was going to this hoping for 3-2. I hadn't really played practice games with this army. I played 1 practice game with this list. Like, I thought it was pretty good. I did not realize it was gonna like just run people over who didn't have screens or like know how to play against it, right? So like I didn't think I was gonna cap 3 rounds 30-30-30. So yeah, super happy with the way the army played. It's also fairly straightforward, so like it was not that difficult to let's be honest, mentally taxing to like play. There's only so much subtle nuance into throwing chosen at people. Obviously the game against Gavin was the one where I definitely needed to be thinking a little harder than I did in that game. And that's not, again, I'm not saying like, oh, my opponents were bad, so I didn't have to think. I'm saying that like this is a very straightforward list. It goes smashy and goes very fast, faster than people think, and gets into them and kills them. So like, whatever. It's almost like playing Giants. Like you're a little bit brain off. You don't have to think too hard. So yeah, I was hella stoked, as they might say in Boston, to come in 5th at a tournament of this size. I'm just incredibly happy about this. I'm honestly tempted to buy and paint 10 more chosen so I can run this list again and have it all be my own models and make a run for like best overall or best general, maybe at like the Battle to End Alzheimer's in, I think, April in Maryland. It's probably the next GT I'm going to play in. But yeah, congrats to everybody who went 5-0. Good job to the Wicked Dicey team for running the event. It was a lot of fun. I did this instead of LVO this year. I want to experience LVO at this point, so I might do that next year. We'll see. But yeah, that's the recap. Again, like I said, just changes to the list. I just move this to this other regiment. I ended up liking the Fell Riders a lot. They're just so fast. 12 inch is great. 12-inch move is awesome. A little bit of shooting's nice. Whatever, they're fine in combat. They charge a little chaff thing and they get their +1 rend oath thing. Great. I think if anything, if I were to change something in this list, I still really like the theory of these two on a flank, but that is, yeah, so I'm exactly 2,000. This is math, 410 points. That could be other things. I would be very tempted to change that to be like, I think I would be tempted to change that to an, honestly, like another unit of Fell Riders and a oh, what's it called? The Mind Stealer. Just, you know, if you're playing another Alpha Strike army, having the Mind Stealer behind the Chosen that are on the board, just to be able to make something strike last. Like, you know, imagine against the 6 Annihilators, I had the Mind Stealer sitting behind the Chosen and strike last the Annihilators, right? Maybe it doesn't matter because the Annihilators can give something strike last if they roll higher than an 8, right? So maybe that doesn't matter in that case, but you know, just imagine a hammer coming in and the Mind Stealer being there to be like, bam, sorry, you're strike last. It's almost like Belakor on the cheap, right? Belakor is making things strike first. Instead, you have the Mind Stealer to make the enemy strike last. So that, between those two things, I think I even still have like 100 points to mess with after that. I'm going to pull it up real quick. Hold on. I think the Mind Stealer is 180? 170? We're about to find out. A Mind Stealer is 170. That's even cheaper than I thought. So the Mind Stealer plus another unit of Fell Riders. If you get rid of the Lord on Demonic Mount and the Chaos Knights, leaves you with a very awkward 90 points. That's kind of annoying, honestly. So maybe that's not how you switch it out. But anyway, I guess you could do, instead of the second Fell Riders, you have 200 points. Oh, actually, a Chariot fits. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, the core of this is really good. It obviously worked very well. I placed higher than any of the Belakor lists, which, you know, whatever. I'm not going to rub that in too much, but I love that. But yeah, I don't know. Slaves are super solid, right? Like, this is the Gaunt Summoner and the Chosen popping out. It's probably a little broken. Let's be real. Like, this could use maybe a little bit of a nerf. I would love, I said this before in my OBR video, I would love other things to get buffed around it, right? Rather than things getting nerfed. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's got me excited about Warhammer again. I got back into the painting groove with the Fell Riders and the Chaos Lord. I think they look awesome. I'm super happy with them. So, hooray Warhammer. Yeah. We'll see you all in the next video. I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I don't know. There will be one coming soonish. Take it easy, everyone.